Of course, this would not be the Mac to the Future show without something going horribly, horribly wrong. Hold on a second. Okay. So very sorry. Oh, it's on. It is so on. Okay. I've got the door closed to keep the cats out. I have my headphones on. It's Wednesday. It's 8:02, which means I'm actually 2 minutes late from starting the show. Again, nothing unusual there. It is July 26, 2017. This is the Mac to the Future Go livecast, episode 19. I actually do not have a name for this episode. I am more than willing to entertain any suggestions. Keep it clean, please. Please keep it clean. Tonight, I mean, there's really not too much going on as far as Apple goes. It's relatively quiet. Let's see, made it, and we'll dock you. Frank says that I made it, and they'll dock me for my pay for being late. Yeah, I know. Well, actually, if I was getting paid for this, I would have been docked for like the next 20 shows based on some of the just utter disasters that have happened in the history, in the long and glorious history of the Mac to the Future live cast. But tonight, now I did earlier ask for some suggestions on what to talk about, and there were two people that really came through with some good suggestions. Daymon Thornton, and I know he's in the chat room because he just said good day, and we're going to talk about the stuff that you wanted to talk about. And the other person that I don't know, she's here too, or he's there. Is it he or is she? I can't tell from Sudz. Sudz Carr also sent over some interesting topics to talk about. Though one thing, let's see, what does this say here? Hi, Daymon. Did I say your last name right? Thornton? Is that correct? I hope so. I don't mean to mess up your names. Story of my life. So, something kind of interesting did happen. Now, as you all know, I drove to Chicago for MacStock in Woodstock, Illinois, and it was great. It was a great event. Drove all the way back. Driving there was certainly a lot more fun than coming back. And people who drive long distance for vacation completely understand what I'm talking about there. Though, after I got back, I got an email, or I was contacted by a good friend of mine, Carl. This is how the show is going tonight. Carl Thrash. Damn it. I'm going to have to look up his name because now I feel so bad that I can't remember his last name. Carl Madden. My God. I've only known the guy for like a couple of years. Carl Madden. And he does he does a couple podcasts over there in the UK. He does the Mac and Forth show, and oh gosh, a couple more. He also helped me write the screenplay that I haven't produced yet for the Maltese Cube, which I'm still working on. Yeah, it will eventually come out. I'm still not exactly sure how all that's going to work. I should at this point. It's only been like almost a year since I announced that I was going to put it out. But anyway, when I got back, I turned the rental car in, and it was like a couple days later, I was in my own car, and I looked up, and I noticed that I didn't have my Fast Pass. And I don't know what they call it in the particular states where you live. It is basically the little electronic device that lets you go through the tolls, and it automatically ducks it. And I had left it in the rental car. So yesterday, as I was coming home from work, I finally remembered that I had done so. and it was still early enough that the rental car place was still open. So I went over, and sure enough, they had it, and put that back in the car. Everything was fine there. But almost like in the next little building over from the rental car place, there's a pawn shop, which when I'm in the neighborhood, I'll kind of peruse through and check out what they got. And this was no exception. I went in, started looking around. They had some microphones, which I really don't need. I got a ton of microphones. I am kind of looking for a new audio interface. The Behringer mixer I have is fine, but for what I use it for, it's kind of overkill. But that's neither here or there. But one thing I did see was they had I don't know if you can see this, Create Pro keyboard from Logitech. Now this thing is typically about, I think it's $139, $149 when you buy it new. And they had it listed for about $120. And I talked them down to $85. And it's for the 12-inch iPad. So I went ahead and got it. And it's pretty nice. It's nice and rigid. It's heavy. It is heavy. So if you bought an iPad hoping that this was going to be your portable device because of its lightweight, this is not the keyboard that you want. However, it does turn it into a very sturdy laptop, and it's got some heft to it, and you can put it on your lap and move it around, and it's going to stay still. And that's kind of what I was looking for something that was a little bit better as far as using the iPad Pro portably, moving around on a train, on a plane, in a car, where I could type on it and it wasn't going to move all around. Because I do have, I'll show it to you. I do have the Apple keyboard, which is this one right here, and it's also very nice. It's a pretty decent keyboard, but it's real flimsy. You set this on your lap and you move around a little bit, and things start moving around. So I wanted to try the Logitech Create keyboard, but I didn't want to. Oh, Frank says MacStock. Did I say MacStock wrong, or are you just saying thumbs up for MacStock? And this is a nice keyboard, as I was saying. I'm looking forward to trying out the Logitech Create keyboard a little bit more under different circumstances, and I'll see which one I prefer better. And the thing is, this is so light that there's no reason I just can't put this in my bag as well. And if all I want to do is interact directly with the iPad, I'm not going to be typing or anything, I could use this as like a little cover, and it's nice and lightweight. And these things are like ridiculously easy to put on and off. It's got this all along here. You can see it right there. It's real strong magnet. It connects through those three little pins there, and there's no power. This doesn't have any batteries. The Logitech Create doesn't have any batteries, and it pretty much just works. So, thumbs up. Okay, thanks. So yeah, so that's what's going on there. Let's move away from that, and we're going to talk about something that Daymon wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about mobile computing, iPhone and iPad featured apps, comms technology, 5G. The iPad Pro that I have is the Wi-Fi cellular model, and I find that having a device that is always connected, as long as always in that, as long as I can reach I don't want to say my carrier of choice's network. Whereas if you want to always be connected on a laptop, you pretty much have to carry another device, or have a service. There are several Wi-Fi services that you can use they don't always work, and you're not always going to be near enough to connect up with them. I'm thinking mostly along the lines of, if you're outside the city, you're probably not going to be able to connect to them that well. Hey, David Ginsburg is here. How you doing, man? Um, so the fact that the iPad already has that connectivity built in, as long as I can connect to the carrier of my choice, I find that to be very convenient. And in a lot of ways, the iPad and the iPhone have become my mobile go-to devices. Whereas even if I have my laptop with me, it just sits in the bag. The iPad, for the most part, does everything that I need to do, including creating podcasts and making art for those podcasts, for whatever the episode is, editing the audio afterwards. I actually, on the go, recorded, well, for a little while anyway, recorded Gazmaz through my iPhone to my iPad through IK multimedia little device, little like portable mixer. And yeah, so if I can do all that on a device that is, lighter than any laptop that I know of, including Microsoft Surfaces, without having to deal with Windows, then yeah, that would be my preferred way to go. And iOS 11, of course, is going to bring even more. I almost hesitate to say desktop like features, but it's going to allow you to interact with it more, and it's kind of their a rudimentary file system is coming into play with iOS 11. I don't have the public beta. I did have the Mac OS 10.13 public beta on my laptop, but I ended up taking it off just before I went to Macstock, because I just needed everything to work and not have to worry about beta bugs and all the rest of that. Let's see. David Ginsburg has a 10.5 iPad Pro. He loves it. I actually like the bigger one better. And I mean, I had a 3rd gen iPad that I had for like 4 years, and I held on to it because I wanted a bigger one. And if Apple had come out with the 10.5, I probably would have gotten that and been very, very happy. But they came out with the 12.9 first. So that's the one that I bought. As far as now, the other thing that Daymon wanted to talk about was pro users technology that will keep Mac at the forefront, emerging technologies. SATA 4, SAS, SSD, GPU, CPU architects. SATA 4, I'm guessing, is going to be coming relatively soon, and chances are it'll be in whatever the next Mac Pro is going to be that Apple puts out. Frank sold his. I guess you're talking about the iPad. You sold yours. Heavy lifting is done on my iMac. Notes to the iCloud as if I'm doing a review. I can write reviews on mobile devices. You can. Yes, you can. Samba or CIFS support for iPhone or iPad. Don't know. I imagine it's coming. SSD is pretty much already there, pretty much across the board. Can you even still get a like just a plain spindle drive on any of the Macs anymore? I know that I believe you can still get the Fusion drives in some of the iMacs, but I think all of the laptops are SSDs now. Are SSDs now. GPUs. Apple has a tendency to not use the latest and greatest when it comes to GPUs. I don't know why. I guess they put in the ones that they know are going to work and that they know are going to be supported. And, they'll leave the bleeding edge over to the Windows crowd and, let them deal with it, whatever problems comes up with it. As far as CPU architecture goes, I would love to see Apple, at least just as an experiment, like maybe in a new Mac Mini, use an AMD processor just to see how Intel would react to them doing that. Intel for a while was just kind of, it seemed to me like there really wasn't anything all that exciting happening coming from Intel. It was more of the same. All they kept doing was just almost like what Apple did, but on a smaller scale. They just kept trying to make the CPUs thinner and thinner and thinner and smaller, going to, because of course, the smaller that you can make the CPUs, the smaller you can make the devices that they go into. The trade-off there is usually heat, and I don't know how much smaller they can make the gaps between all of the cores and all of the connections that goes in there. But yeah, I would like to see Apple use some AMD processors. As far as data storage goes, a lot of people don't like iCloud and don't like Apple's cloud offerings. I'd have to say that for the most part, I'm reasonably happy with iCloud. I don't take a lot of pictures. All of my music and TV shows and movies and all the stuff I have in iTunes, when I'm on Wi-Fi, I've got my entire iTunes collection available to me, minus the stuff that, of course, that I've ripped myself that just lives here at the house. But anything I've purchased from iTunes, I can download. So I don't need to have, the 128 gigs of storage that I have in my iPad completely filled up with TV shows and movies and all the rest of that. If I'm going to be on a plane or I'm going to be on a train, I'm probably taking either a plane or a plane or a train trip to Boston next month, because I'm moving my older son back down here to Virginia from Boston. So if I take the train, that's like 10 hours of content, not including whatever time I may sleep, that I'll need to have some stuff in there for. If it's a plane, it's it's a 2-hour flight. It's not that big a deal. But I have my choice as far as through Wi-Fi. Anything that I have, almost anything that I have in iTunes. As far as where Mac OS is going, I'm happy that they're going to be using a new file format, because that will, HFS Plus has been around for a long time, but it means that everyone who has a lot of stuff on their local drives will get a little bit more room back. And considering that SSDs right now kind of max out on the consumer side at 2 terabytes, and even that's not cheap. I've seen some in the $500 to $600 range for 2 terabytes, but it's still pretty pricey. I'm gonna go over here to the Facebook group. Let's see. David Ginsburg is happy with iCloud. GPU would agree, not the latest. That was from Daymon. That's true. David also says that it works, and in iOS 11 with file management will make it even better. I agree with that. Frank Petrie says that he has iCloud, still have Evernote, which I haven't used in years. Same here. I know Tim Robertson, back when we were doing the Macworld stuff, we relied really heavily on Evernote because it was the easiest way to sync information between us on the various things that we were going to be doing at the show. But once iCloud came out with Notes and a few of the other collaboration tools that it has, haven't really used too much apart from that. Gaz and I, we use Pages for the MyMac podcast for keeping stuff between us. We tried Google Docs. It didn't always work that well. We tried something else. I think it was called Pirate Pad. Total fail. But Pages so far has worked out reasonably well. So I think unless something like unbelievable comes out that has features in it that we could actually use in producing the podcast, I don't see us leaving pages. It's just not a bad a bad set of tools for collaboration. David Ginsburg says he uses pages for In Touch with iOS podcasts, which you guys should be listening to if you're interested in mobile podcasting. But as far as where else the Mac OS is going, I like Metal 2. I like that Apple is finally paying some attention to the graphics part of the operating system, which they seem to kind of just let go for a while. They instead of having an architecture like what Windows has with what do they call that? I can't even think of what Windows calls theirs. Apple didn't really have much of anything. They were basically trying to emulate the Windows graphic call-ups. But now with Metal, developers, if they'll take the time to do so, can use those call-ups directly into the GPU, and it just makes for a better graphical experience within the Mac OS. So I'm reasonably happy with what's going on with the Mac OS. There's not a whole lot in the way of changes in the UI for High Sierra, and I think that was probably on purpose. I think that for this release, they're going to mostly concentrate on getting rid of some of the bugs that they have kind of let go in their pursuit of what's the latest, whiz-bang technology that we can put into the operating system, and, that we can put up on the wall and say, oh, look at this new technology that we have. Well, sometimes it just doesn't matter. I think we are going to take a little break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about what Sudz Carr wanted to talk about, which had to do with augmented reality. So everyone, please hold on for just a minute or two, and I'll be right back.
Everybody, please stand by. And, we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the mymac.com podcast.
All right, so let's carry on. But
I'm still laughing about something that happened just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that right now.
I don't know if you heard, Guy, but Sal's going. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's leaving Apple. It's a tragedy for everybody.
Oh dear, this is not going well, is it? We are so childish.
We are.
Really are.
It's the G-Men on the mymac.com podcast. Just listening to the theme music coming in and out of the break. Yeah, doing that white man shuffle because I'm so talented. Yeah, you really don't want to see me on a dance floor. Though, that Dave was at Macstock, and the Saturday night, first day of the show, they had the Midwest Mac Mingle, which was held at a separate itchy nose held at a separate facility apart from the McHenry Community College. They had a live band, and at one point I think I was outside talking to Tim and a few other people when Allison Sheridan from the Nocilla podcast came running up to me, and she was like, come on, we gotta dance, which is weird because she is like not into music at all. So I don't know where the bug came that she wanted to dance with me, but that was fine. So we go and dance. And right as soon as we walk in the door, the song she wanted to dance to was over from the band. So it was like, and I never got the chance to go back and dance later because there was someone that was at the party that needed a ride back to the hotel that she was staying at. And, over the last, 3 years that Mac Stock has been going on, I've had a car each time. And each year, at some point, somebody needs a ride. And it didn't matter whether it was from the college back to the hotel, from some other event back to the hotel, from the airport back to the hotel, from the hotel to the airport. I don't mind. I don't mind giving people a lift. But what we were going to talk about, did you play the tambourine, Dave? Oh, that I didn't see that. That is so funny. I wish I had seen it. Yeah, it was quite a party. It really was fun. And I know I harped on this for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks leading up to it. If you guys live anywhere near Chicago, now I drove freaking 12 hours from Northern Virginia to get there just because this is such a great time. If you live anywhere in the Midwest area or within 4 to 6 hours driving time to Chicago, please consider going to Macstock next year. It is so much fun. You'll have a blast. It's not that expensive. Lots of places to stay. You don't have to stay in the officially sanctioned hotels. There's cheaper places that you can stay. But it really, really is a lot of fun. Do I work for Uber? Frank has asked me if I work for Uber. The difference between me and Uber and Lyft is that they get paid for taking people to places, and I just do it because I have all this bad karma from the 70s that I have to kind of work off. And people who know me well from those days are like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. They know me. Wanted to talk about something that is coming up in the next version of Drove from PA, New Jersey border. Yeah, you should. Yeah. And you had a great time, didn't you, Frank? Wasn't it great? Yeah, Dave Ginsburg is kind of close. He doesn't really have any excuse. Sudz wanted to talk about augmented reality. Now, Samsung and Google and a few other companies have been working on virtual reality for a really, really long time. And if you don't know the difference between what virtual reality is and what augmented reality is, virtual reality is basically you put on this thing that covers your eyes and your ears, and it immerses you in an entirely different environment, which is, that's fine. The problem with virtual reality, though, is especially if you're with a group of people, nobody else can play for the most part, unless there are hooks into whatever the game is for other people to join. Nobody else can play, and you're completely blocked out from everything else that's going on around you. So Apple decided to go in a slightly different direction. They decided to go with augmented reality. And if you saw the demos that they did, I can't find my glasses. That they did sound like Velma from Scooby-Doo. My glasses, I can't find my glasses. If you saw the demos that Apple did at WWDC, there was some really, really cool stuff that they were showing off there. And I kind of looked online, and there was something that was actually posted in the Mac to the Future page. And I'm going to show that. One of the great things now, if you caught some of the crazy stuff that was going on yesterday, I keep trying new and different programs or programs that I tried in the past that I didn't like that well as far as doing this live cast goes. And I keep coming back to OBS because so far that seems to be the program, and it's free. There's absolutely no charge for OBS. The interface is somewhat lacking, but everything that you want to do with live casting and with all different kinds of services, it's not just Facebook that OBS can go with. They can go with all kinds of other services as well. But I was trying again. There's a program called Just Broadcaster that I used for a couple of weeks early on when I first started this. And there are things about it that I really, really like. I like that I can have the a chat window right here on the main screen. I can kind of break that apart from what I do with Facebook. Because right now, you'll notice anytime I start talking about people talking to me on Facebook, I have to look over to this other screen. Because with just this one screen where I've got my show notes and I've got my controls for OBS, there's not really a whole lot of room to bring over the browser and keep track of the chat. And, I need to work on that. But right now, it's just not really possible. Well, Just Broadcaster lets you do that. It also has a button for bringing in what do you call those, lower thirds or scrolling across. I used to do this thing advertising Ed Eisen's book, which you should, if you don't already have it, you should get. It's only 99 cents. Just look it up in the iBook store. It's a great book. OBS doesn't have that, but there are other things that it does, and does so much better than Just Broadcaster, and as well does better than another program that I've tried, and this one is kind of expensive, called Wirecast. And I just keep coming back to OBS. Anyway, let's talk about augmented reality. And actually, before I do that, let me go back here and check. VR would be great for visiting places that you can't travel to. That's very, very true. Demos were awesome. They were. And earlier today, there's been a couple of augmented reality demos that people have put out on YouTube. And I've gone ahead and created another window here within OBS, and that's why I was talking about it earlier, so that I can show you some of these ones that I've seen on YouTube. So this is the one that I'm sure everyone has probably seen, kind of the aha video thing. Come on. I mean, this is just so cool. And I'm not even really sure how much of this I'm going to be able to get away with. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Now he's like, you see the hand there. That's basically the guy that's holding the camera, moving around. And he's about to turn. That's his house. And his kids are going to come up there, and they're basically looking at this same guy and dancing with him while being in the real world, while dad or whoever is filming this is in the AR world. And I mean, this is just so cool. Now, another one that I saw, before I show you this, I do have to tell you that the company that makes this, I think it's somewhere in Europe, have definite ideas about gender and what's appropriate for each gender. I don't really agree with this, and I'll give you a heads up right now. The one they have for girls is puppies and kittens, and the one they have for boys are race cars. Well, growing up in the 60s, I knew plenty of girls that were interested in race cars and slot cars, and as a somewhat absolutely fine with my gender and sexuality, heterosexual, boy, that was close, heterosexual male. I like puppies and kittens too, but this one, kind of cool what they're doing here.
Cool? If it's from Interdruck, it definitely can. Using augmented reality, we have created 2 apps that change ordinary notebooks into magical toys for kids. Girls can choose one of 2 kittens and 2 puppies to look after on their notebooks. The pets are realistic and have individual behaviors and needs. Kittens chase balls and laser pointers, while puppies play tricks and jump after frisbees.
Okay, now this is supposed to be for girls.
Moreover, the child has to look after the pet
why wouldn't young boys like this
and
too?
Getting it to sleep.
All right, moving on to now. Here's what's for the boys.
Supercars, which they can race on slot racing tracks. The simple gameplay allows the player to enjoy the game while simultaneously holding the device above the notebook. The controls are touch to accelerate and release to brake. The goal
see,
of the
that's
game
kind
is
of cool.
to achieve the best time possible without flying off the track.
And again, this is all augmented
a multiplayer
reality.
mode is also available. Great fun.
Okay, and this is the last one. Wait, hold on a minute. I don't think this is augmented reality. Yeah. Okay, that's not augmented reality. I'm a big Zeppelin fan. I can't help it. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so yeah. And you look at these demos, and just on their own, they look so cool. And this is like first gen stuff. This none of this is even the kind of thing that people are spending years doing. They're basically taking the tools that are in ARKit that Apple is giving them for the next version of iOS, and within a relatively short amount of time, coming out with these cool demos where they're doing you're walking into virtual environments and you can have multiple people all dealing and interacting with that same environment. You're not locked in with glasses and headphones. It's all right there on your phone or right there on your pad. There are things that they could do with this where teaching history, teaching math and the sciences, where kids can take something that they've designed and work with it virtually. And this is all on a freaking iPad. An iPad. You couldn't 10 years ago, you would have needed a supercomputer to do some of this stuff. And now you can do it on your phone. This is where Apple is going. Apple decided that they weren't going to do virtual reality. They were going to do augmented reality. And based on what I've seen from both of them so far, and you can call me an Apple fanboy if you want, I think Apple has the better idea. I think Apple, with their mix of hardware and software, and they control both of them. They control the operating system and then they control the hardware. This gives them a leg up on nearly everyone else, just for the sheer fact that they know what it is that they're going to do next year. All these hardware makers, they don't know what Google's going to do with Android. And, Google doesn't know what the phone and pad companies want to do with the hardware. But Apple has both, and Apple knows how to deal with both. Let's see. Also, Sudz wanted to talk a little bit about upcoming Apple earnings. Yeah, I guess they're going to report next Monday, and that's going to be for the third fiscal quarter, which is not the same as the calendar year. The third fiscal quarter ended in June, and we're now in the fourth fiscal quarter for FY17, which will end at the end of September. That's how that works. I don't know why, but it does. Basically, and if you look at a lot of what the financial advisors are saying right now, all they want to talk about when it comes to Apple is all these problems that Apple is having with the iPhone 8. It's going to be late. It's going to be early. It's going to be too big. They can't get this to work. They can't get that to work. In the meantime, and this is all for something that Apple has yet to show at all. They're guessing. It's all a guess. And it's mostly to drive traffic to whatever company it is they work for. There's a saying in the financial market that you buy on rumor and you sell on news. And I think that's what they're trying to do, especially with the build up to a stock report, not a stock report, a quarterly report like Apple's going to do next Monday. So they get as many people to either buy or sell, depending on, what the narrative is and how that's going to affect them, their clients, and, their company. If you look at the history of Apple's stock, once you get past the really horrible time in the 90s when they almost went out of business, their stock has consistently gone up since 1998. In 1998, if you had bought one share of Apple stock, you would now, let's see, it split 3 times, twice it doubled, so that would be 2 and then 4, and then in the latest split it was 7. You would have 28 shares of Apple stock. If you'd bought in 1998, you could have gotten it for as little as $12 a share. $12 a share. Now here in 2017, you would that one share would have been 28 shares, and each share is now worth, depending on how it ended today, between $140 and $150 for a $12 investment. Actually, divide that by 28, and that's how much you paid and got back as far as that $150 for 100. Let's say 140. You paid $1 or less, and you got 140 back for each one of those shares. Apple's doing fine. Don't pay attention or that much to analysts. They all have their own agendas. Just continue to use the products that you like, use the products that you want, and if that happens to be Apple products, great. My stuff is really, really old. I'm looking forward to seeing what Apple's going to do as far as a Mac Pro goes, because I would like to replace my 2010, now 7 years old Mac Pro. My laptop is from 2013. That's 4 years old. So, all of my Apple stuff, I guess the newest thing I have, is not even my iPhone. My iPhone is 6 Plus, which is now almost 3 years old. My iPad Pro, that's the newest Apple device that I have, and I'm very, very happy with it. And I don't think I need to change it out unless something really, really better comes along. My rule of thumb for changing out my Apple technology is twofold. Either A, it won't do what I want it to do anymore, or B, it's no longer supported by the latest operating system. Once that happens, I replace it. And I don't worry about the resale value. I don't worry about somebody having a Mac that's a year newer than mine that has 10 to 15% higher throughput or faster CPU or the rest of that, because for what I need to do, all my Macs do it extremely well. Anyway, thanks. I want to say thanks to Daymon and thanks to Sudz for giving me the stuff to talk about tonight. Wasn't sure how long all that was going to take, but here we are. We're like 45 minutes in, and I really, really appreciate it. And we got some stuff here. Let's see. David Ginsburg says you got 3 pairs of Beats Solos, 3 wireless for free. I don't understand the reference there. Daymon wants to get a Mac Pro 2018. Yeah, me too. I would love to have one. You're welcome, Sudz. Thank you. And thank you, Daymon. And thanks to everybody. We got 5 people watching here tonight. That's I think that's about a record. I appreciate it. And we will see all of you next week. Before I go, you can contact me, of course, through the Facebook page. You can contact me, gcirl1@gmail.com, and of course, guy@mttfgo.com. I'm Mac Parrot on the Twitters. You can also contact me. I have a Skype number, 703. 703. I should know this by now. 703-436. I had to look at my own show notes. 703-436-9501. It's the same number we use for the My Mac podcast, but nobody calls it. So call the number, leave a message, and I will play it right here on the show, whether it's this show or the MyMac show. And I guess we will see you all next week.